Hello, and welcome to Scripture League. We are your hosts, Nathan and Alexander Rugg. Now, today's contestants are
Anna Norbert, Patsy Trones, Leah Seabrook, and Alistair Lake.
Our first round is going to be reference recall, and it is an exciting head-to-head match where the contestants will have 3 minutes to answer as many questions as they can. Whoever answers the most questions will win the round and will get a bonus of
200 points.
200 points. And each question answered correctly is worth 25 points, right?
Okay.
25 points. So there's bonuses for getting questions right and for winning the match. And each contestant is going to face each other in multiple rounds here. We're going to go head to head. So our first round will be Anna Norberg versus Shotzi Trones. All right, so this is reference recall. You see on the left is Anna Norberg, and on the right is Shotzi Trones, and they are both answering questions. And Alexander, explain how these questions work.
Random access asks RA questions. Reference recall asks random access questions. Random access basically means questions about specific verses or references of the specific verse and so on.
So these are all about Genesis chapter 2, and it requires you to know the entire chapter very well. It asks you questions about what is the content of the verse referenced, and also asks you specific questions.
Looks like Miss Shotzi Trones has got one wrong.
Yeah, and also I should say they also get 3 strikes. Each time they get a question wrong, they get a strike, and they will strike out after 3 questions wrong. So it's about speed and it's about accuracy, so they have to be careful. And that's the second strike for Shotzi. Anna has 21 when got her first strike, and Miss Shotzi is still on question 9. So she's got to catch up, but there's still 1 minute and 45 seconds left. So there is still time, as long as she can keep. Okay.
They're both down to 1 strike.
Yes, so now they have to be careful, and Anna struck out. So I got 1.5 minutes left, so we're only halfway done. Can she play the tortoise versus the hare and catch up and surpass 25? 25 is a pretty good score, though.
Especially for Genesis.
Also, the questions get harder and harder as they go on. You see, Anna struck out on, it says, what is verse contains the word ace, which is a Hebrew word, which I'm not even sure what the answer is. So 17, so she's catching up. 18. And questions start getting more and more difficult, but she's still plugging away. Now the gap is only 6-5. Wow. 40 seconds left. Now I got some blanks in there. Oh, and Anna does win. Congratulations, Anna. All right. Our next 2 contestants are
Leah Seabrook and Alistair Lake.
All right. Now, Alistair has been on the show before, so he's got some experience behind him. But we know that Leah has scored very well on the test and on reference recall, so she's going to be a challenge too. So they are still pretty close to each other, 3-2. So how many of these do you know? You're pretty good at this reference recall, right? All right, so these first ones are just, what is the verse reference? They're both on Genesis 2:17. So Leah's got 1 strike left, and Alistair has 2 strikes left.
And 8.
He is pulling ahead now, slowly separating from Leah. Leah is stuck, and she does not want to get her last strike, so she is thinking carefully on this one. Genesis 2:17. What do you think, Alexander? Which one is it? You know.
I was gonna say.
All right. So she's finally got past that one. So can she catch up now? She's getting a few more. That's good. Alistair has to keep moving. She's catching up. Oh, and Leah struck out. So Alistair, but he keeps getting points for each question right. So he's going to keep going until he strikes out or the time runs out. He has a minute left. But he has the leisure of already knowing he won the match. And that's it. Good job, guys. All right. Congratulations, Alistair. The next 2 are
Anna Norberg and Leah Seabrook.
these 2, I've heard are friends, so, but friends can be competitors too, right? So they're going head to head. Let's see how, I think they study together, so let's see how, if they can score. Anna scored the highest on the Scripture League test for Genesis 2. She missed only 2 questions, I think, on the entire test. So she knows her stuff really well. And she is going quickly out of the gates. Already got 9 questions right. Leah's got 6, but she's not slow herself. Neither of them have any strikes yet, so they are still just cruising along. 15, 16. What's your highest score in reference recall?
I haven't practiced much in Genesis 2.
What's your overall score?
I don't remember. I think I did get to gold rank once.
What's gold rank?
I think 20 to 25 and 25 to 30.
Okay. So Anna's already to 20. In the third group. There's a lot of interesting geography questions, verses about the pre-flood world. Alright, Anna is... And then Leah struck out at 13. And Anna is still trucking along with only 1 strike so far. So what do you think? She can get to 30 pretty soon here. Adama, what's Adama? Ground. Elohim. Oh. All right. Congratulations, Anna. All right. And our next 2 contestants are
Shotzi Jonas and Alistair Lincoln.
All right. It's age versus youth. We'll see. I think the youngest and oldest contestants. We'll see how it goes. And Shotzi's already out. She actually scored the highest reference recall, I think, on a test so far. She got 40 on Genesis 2. So she can put up very high numbers. So Alistair Lake's going to have to do his best to, and they're keeping neck and neck here. 6 apiece. Alistair is just inching ahead. But it's about speed and it's about accuracy, because last time we saw shots just kept plugging away and getting a lot of questions, but She used almost her whole time. So, Alistair's still staying just slightly ahead. 2 strikes for Shotzi. That's tricky. Now you got to be careful. Now you can't play it. You got to play it safe now. But Alistair, he can gamble a little. He can make some guesses and at 1 strike.
They're tied now.
So close. Wow, this is a close match. They're both down to 1 strike, and they just 1 question apart. It's going to be a close one here. All right, they're tied. 13. Just taking the lead. 14. Okay, Alistair got it past it. First change the word garden, or first change the word Eden. It could be the same verse. Yeah. So there's a lot of keywords that are pulled out here that you need to know in English, but also in Hebrew as well as you get to the higher questions. Oh, they're still going away. Still going at this. I thought they were going to strike out there, but now they're just going 21-17. Is 30 seconds left. They might actually not strike out. Chances 2-7. That's it. 21-19. Alistair is play catch up just like Shotzi did. 21-21. 13 seconds. Got it. 22. 10 seconds left. And 3, 2, 1. Woo! Alistair. 25. That was a close one. I thought it was anyone's game there. All right. So, our next 2 contestants are
Anna Norberg and Alistair Light.
Alright. So how many did Anna won? I know she won.
She's already at 17.
Yeah, she got 17. She won 2 matches?
I believe so. I think she's won.
Yeah. So she's racking up some points here. Gonna give her a good start on the next round. But look at this, Alistair again. She's just moving quick. These beginning ones.
And Hannah, who only has 2 strikes now.
Yeah, lost the strike. So they're both neck and neck now. 11. Ahead here, 17, 18, and Alistair got his first strike.
She has 1 strike left.
But she's still going. 19, 20. Last time Alistair just kept trucking along and was able to win in the end. So it's a game of accuracy and just looking along. So they're both down to 1 strike. It's getting top 26 2017. And I was trying to build a nice buffer on Alistair. Got 1 minute to get 10 questions right. Even if she strikes out here, that's gonna be tricky. It's gonna be tough to catch up now. There, that's
Earth.
Earth. That sounds like Earth. Yeah, and a strikeout in Genesis 2:11. It just showed now a few words from that verse. It instead of the entire passage. So it's more difficult than the earlier ones. So
And Alistair only has half a minute to catch up.
half a minute to catch up. This is going to be hard because the questions are getting more and more difficult. But Alistair could do it. 30 is a really good score.
20 seconds.
You gotta go fast though. And on the last strike, it's on mine.
Heaven.
Heaven. Come on. Okay. Just gotta start clicking. And you think you did. All right. Anna wins again. All right. Good job, guys. All right, and let's get to our next two contestants.
Shotzi Trons and Leah Seabrook.
All right.
Again, favorite version.
Yeah. But they both are neck and neck still. And yep, there we go. Following along correctly with each other. He is starting to pull ahead now, though.
Leah lost a strike. Lost 2 strikes.
Yeah. This is not good. Don't want to be down to your last strike on question 8. So, she's not even strike 2 now. We both have to be a little careful.
And a minute.
Yep, and so Leah struck out 13. And Shotzi has 1 strike, so she's gonna try. Is she gonna do the tortoise? Nope, nope, she can't do it this time. Congratulations. Congratulations, Leah. All right, and that concludes our first segment. That concludes reference recall. So let's look at the scores before we go on to the next round.
Anna Norberg is in first place with 2,700 points.
And Shotzi Tronas is in third place with 1,225 points.
And Leah Seabrook is in fourth place with 1,100 points.
And Alistair Lake is in second place with 1,975 points. Good job, everybody. Okay, so now our final round will be featured on the game board, which has 30 different questions in different categories, all from Genesis chapter 2. Our first category is Sabbath school,
Geography,
then garden variety,
resting, 1, 2, 3,
marriage advice,
and beginning at the ending again.
I like these guys. All right, so we're going to ask our first place contestant, Anna, to please select a question from the board.
Beginning for 100.
How does Revelation 19 describe the Church of God?
Anna,
Right.
Say that
The
again.
bride dies.
Yes, that's. Yeah, bride is correct.
It says it
I
on
think maybe timed out there. Maybe we need to turn the audio up on the...
I said it 3 times.
Hang on a second.
Yeah.
Correct answer was Lamb's wife. Right. So we're going to correct the scores. And we'll get that done in a second here. And why don't you try to select another question and make sure you speak up as loud as you can for us.
Beginning at the ending for 200.
In Revelation 22:17, who is specifically allowed to take the water of life freely?
Leah.
Those who believe.
Incorrect. Alistair.
Those who thirst.
No? The answer is whosoever will. Okay. All right, Anna, let's try another question from the board.
Beginning at the ending for 300.
Genesis 2:9 mentions the tree of life. Which chapter of Revelation promises that those who overcome will be given to eat of the tree of life?
Anna.
Chapter 22. Chapter 22.
Leon?
Revelation 2.
All right. Anna, or sorry, Leah, please select a question from the board.
Marriage Advice 200.
From the beginning, marriage between man and woman was ordained. According to Mark 12:25, who is it that do not marry?
And that is the angels. All right. Leah, please select another question.
Marriage Advice 100.
In which verse does it say that it is not good for a man to be alone?
Leah.
Genesis 2:18.
That's correct.
All right. Select another question from the board, please.
Geography 100.
In the book of Genesis, chapter 2, what is the name of the fourth river mentioned?
Alistair.
The Euphrates River.
That's right. All right. Select another question, Alistair.
Beginning at the ending for 400.
Genesis 2:3 describes God resting. What chapter in Revelation says those who die will be blessed and rest from their labors?
The correct answer was Revelation 14. All right, Alistair, select another question for us.
Sabbath school for 200.
Which New Testament chapter directly quotes Genesis 2:2, saying that God rested from his works on the seventh day?
Anna,
Hebrews 4.
a little louder? All right. Good job. Anna, please select a question for us.
Beginning at the ending 500.
Genesis 2:10 describes the first river. In Revelation, the judgment of what vial turns all the rivers into blood?
That would be the third vial judgment. All right, Anna, let's take another question from the board.
I can't see the categories.
Say that again.
I can't see the categories at the top.
Can we get the board up for Anna? Hang on a second.
Oh, there we go. Marriage advice 300.
In Genesis 2:18, God says he will make something for the man. What Hebrew word does he use?
Shotzi.
Isha.
Say that again, please.
Isha. Isha.
Alistair.
Ezra.
That's correct. It means help. Meet for him.
Alistair, please select a question for us.
Sabbath school for 100.
Which gospel records Jesus saying that his Father works on the Sabbath?
Shotzi.
John.
That is correct.
All right, Shotzi, please select a question for us.
I also cannot see the categories. Okay. Geography for 200.
In what direction was the Garden of Eden located according to Genesis 2?
Shotzi.
East.
Correct. Please choose another question.
Geography for 300.
According to Genesis 2, which river flows around the land of Ethiopia, or Cush?
Anna. All right.
3,000.
And please choose a question for us.
Sabbath school 300.
Which chapters promise that if the children of Israel refrain from doing their pleasure on the Sabbath, they will be blessed?
That is Isaiah 58. All right. Anna, please choose another question.
Sabbath school 400.
What word is specifically used to describe the Sabbath in Exodus 31:17?
That word would be sign. All right, Anna, please choose another question.
Sabbath School 500.
Which chapter describes someone being put to death for breaking the Sabbath? Alistair.
Numbers 15.
Correct. All right, Alistair, choose a question for us.
Geography for 400.
Genesis 2:12 mentions a river flowing around the land containing onyx. What is the name of that river?
Shotzi.
Gihon.
Say that again, please.
Gihon.
Bashan.
Was that? Did, okay. Anna, please select a question from the board.
Garden Variety 100.
What was the only thing in the Garden of Eden that Adam was not allowed to cull?
Anna?
We knowledge.
All right. All right, please choose another question.
Garden Variety 200.
In which verse is Adam assigned to take care of the Garden of Eden?
Shotzi.
Genesis 2:15.
Correct. Good. Please choose a question.
Garden variety for 300.
Genesis 2:5 says that God hadn't caused it to rain. Which chapter contains the first narrative account of rain happening?
Leah.
Is it Genesis 1?
Alistair.
Genesis 8. State.
Shotzi.
Genesis 6.
Yeah. Correct answer was Genesis 7. All right. Shotzi, please choose a question.
I can't see the board.
And we need to change the camera, I think. There we are. All right, Shotzi, please choose a question for us.
Resting 1, 2, 3 for 100.
What is the Hebrew word for rest?
Anna?
Shabbat.
Good job. Anna, please choose another question.
Resting 1, 2, 3, 200.
Which psalm exhorts us to be still and trust in God?
Alistair.
Psalm 35.
That was Psalm 46. All right. Anna, please choose another question.
Resting 1, 2, 3, 300.
In which gospel does Jesus invite weary people to come to him, promising them rest?
Shotzi.
Matthew.
Good job. All right. Please choose a question for us.
Geography for 500.
What was the river that flowed toward the east of the country, whose namesake captured northern Israel?
Alistair.
The Tigris.
Good job.
500 points.
All right, Alistair, select a question for us.
Garden variety for 400.
What does Eden mean?
Leah.
Eden means pleasure.
Correct. All right, Leah, choose a question for us.
Marriage advice 400.
Genesis 2:20 speaks about a help, meat/helper for man. For Adam. Which chapter says that woman was made for man?
Shotzi.
1 Corinthians 11.
Correct. All right, please choose a question for us.
Garden variety for 500.
Which minor prophet mentions the Garden of Eden?
Anna.
Ezekiel.
Leah.
Joel.
Good job. All right, Leah, please choose a question for us.
Resting 1, 2, 3, 400.
Which chapter of Isaiah says, "In rest shall ye be saved"?
That is Isaiah chapter 30. All right, Leah, there's 2 questions left. Please choose one of them.
Marriage advice 500.
Marriage is a symbol of the union between Christ and his church. Which chapter tells a similar parable of a king and a wedding?
Anna.
Matthew 22.
All right. And there's one last question left on the board.
Resting 1, 2, 3, 500.
Good choice.
Which chapter of Leviticus warns the Israelites that if they do not allow the land to rest, they will be taken away so the land can enjoy her Sabbaths?
Leah.
Leviticus 25.
The correct answer was Leviticus 26. And that concludes the game show. So let's look at the scores.
In fourth place, we have Shotzi Trones with 1,725 points.
In third place, we have Leah Seabrook with 2,000 points.
In second place, we have Alistair Lake with 2,975 points.
And our winner is Anna Norberg with 3,600 points. Congratulations, Anna. All right. Thank you, guys. We will see you next time. Congratulations, Anna. Great job, everyone. God bless.
And I won. Good job.